Alrighty. Howdy neighbors and welcome to Who is the Red Queen? This is supposed to be... what's it called? Similar to, like, a dating game, except it's more of a detective style. Which is always fun. Also, major trigger warnings. If you are not alright with death and dismemberment and things like that, this is not the game for you. I descend through a starry sky. My long blonde hair and red cape flew wildly as I looked to the ground below me with my blue eyes. Falling. I was falling down this rabbit hole with no start nor end. I was falling. Where had I gone? Where could I go? As if I were forgetting something very important, I fell down through a sparkling, shining darkness. Too bright to be dark, too dark to be bright. I must have been chasing after someone, after something. As a girl whose curiosity was piqued by a rabbit with a watch, I was falling down, again. This endlessly, well seemed to lead everywhere, yet nowhere at once. Either the hole extended very deep, or I descended very slow. Was I truly even going downward? Perhaps it was all a dream, a fever dream, or in more words, a fantasy that would be as soon forgotten as it was had. I held just one certainty. I was Alice. Alice was me. Now then, just how long was I supposed to keep falling? There brushed past my fingers, a cloak ruffling upward. A quiet humming breeze caressed my cheek. As if I could hear someone's voice. A pleasant voice. A woman's voice. I strained my ears for whispers in the wind. Alice, what a time for madness, without a bit of fear or vertigo. Should you not have focused on topics more pressing? Like the darkness, or the light, or how you couldn't awaken from this dream. Or even now, you were just falling. What does it matter? With a thump, I came upon soft grass and the fall was over. Now a bit hurt, I forced myself to my feet. Up above my head, a firmament whence. A firmament whence I fell had not a tear in its blue canvas. Down about my eyes, when the familiar and unfamiliar surrounded me. I started on an extraordinary stroll. The white rabbit! Soon, I stumbled upon a rabbit who looked like a girl, or a girl who looked like a rabbit. Perhaps the correct answer was that she was both a girl and a rabbit. She had white hair and floppy white ears, pale skin and purple eyes. Her hair was tied in two low pigtails with white ribbons. A clock pin adorning her bangs. She wore gloves, an oversized blue coat with golden accents, and a red vest over a dress shirt tied with a black ribbon. She also had khaki pants tucked into boots. She looked quite scared as she stood in the forest clearing. She was even holding her hands to her chest. Not lingering much longer on the species of the rabbit before me, I called out to her. "Excuse me." Calling out to her caused her to jump. Where was this place? Why was I here? How could I leave to return home? I thought of what to ask her, but she recognized me as soon as I spoke, so my questions were lost in my mouth unasked. She looked at me with troubled eyes. "Alice." "White Rabbit." "Have you seen Her Majesty? Do you know where she's gone? Where she could go?" "Her Majesty, the Red Queen. She must be taking a vacation of sorts. I only wish she could have left this little rabbit a note. I'm in a bit of a panic, you see. The land can't run without its queen. She then took on a distracting look. Please let me know if you catch sight of her. I nodded. Who this red queen was, I had no clue, but a tingling deja vu. Still, my acceptance of the quest let the white rabbit breathe out a sigh of relief. As I was prepared to pose my own questions, she straightened her back in surprise. I'm afraid I have to go. I'm going to be late. Bye. The white rabbit dashed off. Dots. I want to ask some questions. Never mind that. Follow her, Alice. I say to myself as no one else is here. Although I chased after her with only a moment's pause, when I turned the corner she was nowhere to be seen. There was only a forest path before me. I found myself in a garden, meticulously kept. There was a large white gazebo in the center with a table and chairs for tea. Tailing the rabbit, I barely dashed a few paces. I hadn't realized such a place was so close by. Rather, I hadn't realized I'd run this far. A conjecture tingled in my mind that this world I fell into was a magical place, one of the paths that pointed to one way but twisted to another. What an explanation, much more far-fetched to me than me just not knowing where I was running. I took a moment to catch my breath. Glancing around, I began my walk into the garden. Flowers and greenery all around, but not a person in sight. This place is beautiful. I wanted to meet the person who made it. I'm not quite a gardening person myself. I still appreciate a pretty place, and felt a swelling excitement to explore what sights could be seen. A reminder of reality then dampened my joyful curiosity. I wanted some answers, a way out and back home. As pleasant as dreams were, one had to be able to awaken from them before they turned into nightmares. I'm afraid that's not going to happen this time. Strong suspicion. I read the Steam page. Whether this was a dream or reality, had still yet to be seen. Step, step, I walk around. Hop, hop. I peered over the bushes. Soon enough, I discovered the heart of the garden, where one might sit for tea. I spotted a white-haired girl in the garden. To mind my previous thoughts, would it be right to say that I'd rather also appreciated a pretty person? Her hair was long and reached her shoulders. Her skin pale, and her eyes a light purple. She was also adorned with a regal blue and white dress that was so long it hid her feet. Her expression was quite distant and calm. I noticed bandages wrapped around her right hand, which was gently clasped over her left in front of her. Frivolous thoughts flew from my mind as our eyes met. Her gaze seemed to beckon me over, so over I went to speak with her. She opened her mouth to speak. Are you enjoying the garden? The garden is beautiful. The gardener will be happy to hear that from you. However, if you have come here now, you should be searching for something. We should first introduce ourselves. She gave me a sad smile. I am the Wed Queen. Just like with the rabbit, for reasons unclear to me, I already knew who she was. Here, that should be as good as a name. Your Majesty, my name is Alice. She frowned. Don't stand there on ceremony, Alice. One day I will learn how to read. I am not someone you need to speak with, particularly respectfully. Welcome to my garden wonderland. That sad smile returned to her face. Wonderland. I tasted the word on my tongue. I can't remember why or how I'm here. Not this garden, but a wonderland. Once again, she frowned. I was falling. And I can't remember why I was falling. I was simply falling, until I fell no more. I'm sure I've forgotten something very important. That pained smile returned. You need to force yourself to remember. Some things are better left forgotten. Perhaps it was fated for you to come here. Perhaps something is missing that you must find. This world must appear like a place of dreams. You should find the Red Queen. The missing queen whom the White Rabbit mentioned was the Red Queen. Then came a troubled look. I waited for the White Queen to continue. She hesitated to speak of the Red Queen, as if the elusive royal would appear like a ghost behind her as she spoke. I tried to imagine what sort of person the Red Queen was. She will let you return to your own reality. When you meet her, you should be able to find all the answers you are seeking. As for what she is, that is for you to discover. Do you dislike her? At first, she pursed her lips, as if troubled again. Then came the same somber smile. That is a different question, Alice. So she's like that. I'll let you judge the Red Queen. You might learn something new about yourself. Shall I head off to find her now? Her face lit up a bit. Why not stay for some tea? You're giving me mixed signals, dear. Of course I'd love to, but it's not quite afternoon tea time yet. She smiled, this time much happier. A later time then. Hee. Certainly. Oh, certainly to have tea outside the tea time wouldn't do. The smile softened into a fond one as she lowered her lids. I won't keep you for much longer, Alice. I'm sure you'll be able to find that person soon enough. Until later. Later. I waved goodbye to the White Queen and departed from her garden. Glancing back, I see her gaze linger upon me. That poor smile of hers had turned somber again. I stepped onto a twisted path in the forest. I didn't know which way to go to find the elusive Red Queen, turning left and right. To find a queen, I thought to seek a castle. However, the rabbit said that the queen was missing, so unless the rabbit had also forgotten something important, the queen shouldn't have been at the castle. The Red Queen. She seemed like a troubling person. The way the White Queen's face froze, the tongue stuttering along at the topic of the Red Queen, made me wonder, was the latter queen a tyrant or a fool? The tutor at home liked to talk about kingship of that sort. To me, either or neither were fine. After all, who were the peasantry to affect the mood of the high queen? I hummed and walked along, with a skip in my step. As I reached a rhythm to my stride, I kicked a little something, an animal, that threw off my beat. It threw off my groove. I slowed to applaud, my mood a note dampened. Soon I heard the chatter of a girl a few trees away. Seeing not much civilization here in the forest, I followed the voice of the girl. Although she was chatting, I heard her voice alone. They're so cute, what the fuck? Look at how cute they are! Oh my god! You're my favorite. Are you the Mad Hatter? That's great. I passed by a few bushes and soon enough found the tea party in the middle of nowhere. At the table, set before a tree, sat the girl. The white cloth table was littered with all sorts of tea time things, from a tower with cookies and cupcakes, a rubber duck, and a cake with knives in it. Okay. Pitchers with dozens of tea bags and sacks of dishes. In the center, there even laid a green vase of dead, plucked apart red roses beside it. Some petals sat in the water. The girl had long pink hair with uneven side bangs, pale skin, first eye red and second yellow. A smile was on her features that contrasted with her eye bags. Her outfit was just as chaotic as the table. Under her black trench coat was a loose dress shirt, tied with a large purple ribbon. She also wore checkerboard purple pants and white lace-up shoes. This is an outfit I would rock. On her gloved hands sat two hand puppets, a white hare with a yellow straw hat and a red bow tie, and a gray dormouse with a little pink flower perched by her ear. But most glaring of all was the large black top hat wrapped haphazardly in purple ribbons and pieces of paper taped to it. "Hello there, Alice. What did you come for?" Her chatter ceased. Her mismatched eyes pierced through me in its place. With little fangs in her mouth, she opened it. "There's no room here at the table, so don't take a seat." "No room, no room." The girl gave a wide grin, as she wont to do frequently. In fact, it's rare the smile was wiped off her face. She put the puppets on her hand, the sleepy mouse and the mad hare. Looking right to left, I could barely see the ends of the table set for tea. One person in such a light space. Conversely, she almost seemed lonely. "There's plenty of room, Hatter." Her smile shrunk a bit. To take a point, I took a seat in a large armchair across from the Hatter. The chair stunk of flowers, as if to clear away the shadow of an unpleasant previous sitter. I sank back into it comfortably, and I kept sinking, before I jolted back up with a shallow gasp. "Three's plenty of crowd. That's rude of you to say, Alice. Not very civil of you to sit down without being invited either." She granted me a cheeky grin and a wink. "But whatever. Let's just treat you as our extra guest for tomorrow. Not today. Aren't they the same? Yesterday, today, tomorrow. Every day is never a day different. But since I'd rather not deal with it today, we just treat it as for tomorrow. Your Dormouse and Marsh don't mind. You mentioned 3, but I only see 1. Alice, don't be rude." She wiggled the puppets on her hands, as if to explain everything. 1 was herself, 2 was the first puppet, 3 was the second puppet. "I'm scared Alice might be blind." Her mad smile became a mad grin once more. "That's a side effect of being Alice. Don't worry. It's a side effect of being Alice." She sneered. The pitch of her voice warped. "Don't mind their comments. She is Dormouse, and he is March Hare." She paused as if waiting for me to greet the animal puppets. I waited. She waited. Her smile did not falter, in fact only widened in anticipation. The silence of the conversation bored me, so I related to the Mad Hatter's wordless request. I was their guest for tomorrow, so polite guest I decided to be. "Well, hello there." Her smile became ordinary again. "I was scared she was deaf as well." "Hi, Alice." It seemed whenever she made the puppet talk, she often took on a more natural expression, to keep her mouth closed like a ventriloquist. Between the puppets, I much preferred the Dormouse. If a puppet could fall asleep, she looked as if she was about to do so. I felt some pity, as that meant the March Hare would speak more. What were you talking about before? A riddle. Here was this one. Why is the raven like a writing desk? Do you have an answer to that riddle? You're no fun, Alice. Relax and have some wine. I thought this was tea. There is no wine. You were invited for tea tomorrow, Alice. It's an obligation of the host to offer a guest a drink at tea time. Maybe she's an alcoholic? Hatter, I can't, in good faith, call this time of day tea time, nor can I call alcohol tea. Details. Add some butter. It'll be tea time eventually, so it's tea time now. We're having tea. So it might as well be tea time, don't you think? What did you come here for anyway? Although I couldn't quite say that I had come here for the tea party with a goal in mind, I figured I might as well tell her. I was searching for the Red Queen. Her brow contorted as she took a sip of her tea. Puppets sat down just for the moment. Tumbling the tea away and raising the cup, she poured herself another drink. Her mismatched eyes narrowed. Ow, her! The Hatter placed her lips on the rim of the teacup and stared at me. Minutes passed. A minute passed, all 60 seconds, consisting of staring, before she ducked down under the table, as if to find an item and popped back up again. Her expression was back to its usual state. "Say chat a moment. I'll help you with a little something regarding Her Majesty." The Hatter poured me a cup of tea and slid over a plate of sandwiches. The Hatter's smile became wide. The plate hurled toward me, forcing me to hurriedly grab it, lest sandwiches spilled all over my lap. Luckily, the cup of tea arrived much more calmly. Took a taste, finding it Earl Grey. "Is it tomorrow already?" At the very least, it wasn't time for afternoon tea. If I'd known I would have tea now, I would have stayed a little longer to have some of the White Queen as well. It was not that people couldn't have tea outside of afternoon tea, but it was the principle of things. If people drank tea any time of the day, they would drink it all day. I have a friend who drinks it all day. Chugs it like his GamesRHard. I sipped some more, enjoying the citrusy flavor of this black tea. Today is tomorrow of yesterday, don't you think? Unless she doesn't think, I would have been a rude for you to ask. She's just normal. Orthogonal? I'm certainly sitting up quite straight. But regarding the Red Queen, do you have some news about her? I'd say I have some business with her instead. Something to do with meat and flesh and all other red things that the Red Queen might have to do with. Aren't you a hatter? She grinned widely. Yeah? Not a butcher? Unless you're meat made out of hat. While talking about all things unappetizing, took a bite of sandwich filled with an ambiguous color. A milky sweetness melted into your mouth. It tasted like some sort of fruit is inside. Maybe it was mango, or kiwi, or strawberry. Satisfied with the pleasant sweetness, you took another sip of tea. This tea and these sandwiches are delicious. Thank you, Alice. You made them. Compliments to you, then. The Hatter grinned with a wink. Wow, such flattery. Since you put me in a good mood, I guess we can go ahead with Her Majesty's matter. She smiled, as if laughing. In fact, she was sitting here with us the whole time. I sat up even straighter, in confusion, glancing around. I saw no queens in sight. Not a human, nor animal, besides the two of us here. The Hatter rolled a chair over and pulled the cloth from over the chair's holdings. Ta-da! Dots. Ayo? Ayo? What was the name? Hold on! Why are we already starting? Nausea ran up my spine. On the chair sat a chunk of meat, dressed up in tattered human clothes. Still dripping red, the flesh seemed to ripple, undulating. Was it rotting? Or was it still alive? My head spun as I squinted at the thing. This meat, no, this thing resembled a human torso, with half a neck and chopped off limbs, dolled up with what could have been fancy clothes. This was surely human flesh. Ugh, I want to see it. I want to see it. I sensed an odd familiarity with the torso, but it still felt as if I was looking at it from an incorrect angle. This was the torso of a regal woman. This was raw human flesh. This is the Red Queen. God. The Hatter's eyes narrowed again, whereas furrowed, but still smiling. An inappropriate question flitted across my mind. Could we consider it as sitting if it didn't have legs? I suppose yes. I thought you said you weren't a butcher, Hatter. We definitely couldn't consider this a hat. I'm just eating the strawberry taste in my mouth turned into a meaty texture like raw pork. I could almost taste sweet and rotten fat. I swallowed. Her expression turned to normal. I wonder if the Hatter wanted to make me sick. The Hatter gave me a wild smile. Yeah, I'm a hatter. Close my eyes and rub the bridge of my nose. Too distracted by the surprise, the feeling of my fingers almost felt like wet ground meat, even though I'm sure that my digits are still attached to my palm. They were lingered uncomfortably behind my eyelids. Not with disgust, with another inexplicable emotion. A negative one for sure. Look at the torso again, and it seemed so still. I saw exposed bone and a shattered trachea. The cut must not have been wholly clean. Made with a blade sharpened not quite enough, yet also dulled not quite enough. Yes, this was the Red Queen. I knew not why I knew, but a voice in the back of my head told me that this was the Red Queen. Part of the Red Queen. I'm afraid Her Majesty can't speak right now. The Hatter stirred her tea and popped a bite-sized sandwich into her mouth, munching happily. She sneered. Ha ha ha! Don't look at me like that, Alice. The Hatter didn't remember Her Majesty. Yes, the Hatter's innocent. It was only the Hatter spoke in defense of herself. I wasn't particularly inclined to believe her. But whether or not she did kill the Red Queen, and results sat before me. What should I do now? I moaned my uncertainty at this dead end, aloud. She smiled as if nothing was wrong. What do you mean? All you have to do is find all the other pieces. If you have anything you need Her Majesty for, all you need to do is put it back together. Oh, fuck. Have you forgotten, Alice? Dots. They're sounding mad. So mad I wanted to laugh. This is a wonderland, after all. All I need to do is find the pieces. That was right. That was all I needed to do. It would either be terribly simple or terribly hard. I hope that no one fed the Red Queen to the pigs, or missed her up for a patty. Regardless, all I really needed was a head and torso if I wanted to talk to her. To ask her about the secrets of returning home. May I take the body with me? What the fuck are you doing? The Hatter narrowed her eyes. Alice, you were a civilized girl. Did you really want to lug around a piece of meat like you were some meat seller, selling to the cannibals? The Hatter winked cheekily. No, that wouldn't be fair, don't you think? Once you find most of her parts, let's just say the limbs, I'll give you a special present and help you out again. He patted a box up to the side of the table. The box was just big enough for a cat or cake, and there was something like a hat. Of course, don't peek or try to find out what the present is. It wouldn't be a surprise like that, and I'll be very, very upset if you cheat. With that smile on her face, I couldn't see her upset. Only muddled sincerity came from her voice. The Hatter's mismatched eyes wandered, looking distracted as she did so. Well now, gotta grab some off the stove before it burns. The Hatter got up from her seat and walked away. I was alone with the Red Queen's flesh. It was missing all 4 limbs and a head. So to make her whole, I would need to find the 5 pieces. I'm gonna save real quick. I thought we only had 8 slots. I was about to die. There we go. I hope my search would be easy. Seeing as the Hatter was nowhere in sight, I contemplated a decision regarding that curious box on the table. Honestly, this is a fun sound. I feel like we should listen to the Hatter. I don't trust this. I shook my head. Instead of agonizing the Hatter needlessly, I decided to take another sip of tea. I would see what's inside the box eventually. That'll return soon enough. Where are your puppets? The puppets were absent, rather. In her hand was a hammer, glowing bright with heat. She chucked it to the side with a thump and let the metal sizzle on the ground. What was the hammer for? She grinned. Does the hammer need a reason to be? We're about to die. Anyway, go! Go ahead and try to find some of the Red Queen's body. An arm, a head, maybe two. Let's bring him back here for me to attach to this. She pointed at the torso. I'll still be tea time when you come back. I shall count you as an extra guest for the next tomorrow as well. To be exact with time, now was not tea time. I suppose there's not much else I can do here. Nada's expression dampened a bit as I responded. I looked at my empty cup of Earl Grey and lifted myself up from the armchair. For what it's worth, I quite enjoyed this odd-hour tea. Shaking my legs just to make sure they hadn't fallen asleep, I started to leave. Until later. Auf Wiedersehen. She leaned back into her chair and made a lazy wave my way. Somehow she looked lonely. We would have died. We would have died. I returned to another forest path, walking forward and forward. After moving a while, I realized I had no idea where I was going. Simply words, I was lost. I walked around in a few circles before looking upward. Hello? Above I saw a cat. A cat who resembled a girl who resembled a cat, leisurely stood on a tall branch of a tree. She had sharp green-yellow eyes, pale skin, a cat-like smile. Her brown hair was tied into a ponytail with an orange ribbon. Her two cat ears on top of her head, looking quite fluffy. She wore an orange cape with 3 black stripes and a fluffy white collar, with a tattered short black dress underneath. Adorned around her neck was a collar with a bell. Her one visible arm had a shackle around the wrist for her clawed hands. There appeared to be something like stitches at the point where her arm and shoulder connected. Unlike the white rabbit, this cat, the Cheshire cat, I couldn't help but wonder if she was actually neither a cat nor a girl, and was just pretending to be either. I met her cat eyes, nodding in silent greeting. Her grin stretched across her face as she stared right back. Sharp teeth filled her mouth and claws adorned her hands. This was probably a cat. Cheshire. The flame that was her tail flickered, and she hopped down to meet me closer. I don't suppose you can tell me which way I should go. Her eyes narrowed in amusement. I posed a silly question that I expected no answer for. After all, I was asking a cat for directions. Depends on where you want to go. To my surprise, I received a response. To find the Red Queen. Oh, the crazy one. Are you sure you'd prefer not to go with the nice one? The one I'm searching for is the Red Queen. Alright, the Mad Queen. Then again, we're all mad around here. Mad except for Her Majesty the White Queen. It's too sad to be mad. If you were looking for the Red Queen, up, up, down, down, left, right might help. Why are you telling me the Konami code? Cat jeered. Self-awareness, Alice. Self-awareness. Cheshire Cat vanished into air. Soon enough, she reappeared. I'll go to the White Queen instead. Maybe we'll find something on the way. She started to fade away again before popping back. Forgot to ask, how's the Hatter doing? She seems to be fine. It's still tea time over there. It's always tea time with that one. A third time she disappeared, leaving a grin lingering in the air before that too vanished. It was a grin without a cat, instead of a cat without a grin. Third time was the charm. The cat did not appear. I can't say I've seen a cat quite like that before. And again, Cheshire wasn't really a cat. Only 3 lengths more. I mulled over the odd advice she gave. Let's see. Up, down, down, left, right, find the White Queen. Try to remember what the Cheshire Cat had said, speaking the pattern of directions allowed to repeat. Up, up, down, down, left, right. I felt that I had missed a few items, but that was all the cat had given. I backtracked to the position where I met the cat and followed the recommended directions. Soon enough, I found myself at a crossroad. I saw no limbs nor heads in sight. Left was labeled right. Right was labeled left, with the wrongly written signboards. I chose at random where to go next. After a few meters, I found a new signboard, with its own quaintly marked arrow. Whether or not they led to the right place was another issue. I set my pace to read the signs that followed them along. Today's a rainy day. I didn't know which genius thought to put a forecast onto a wooden board on the side of the road, but I followed the direction to go right regardless. The sky did not have a drop of rain in sight. Warning, cliff ahead. As it happened, neither was there a cliff ahead. Watch out for dragons. I looked for dragons, but the dragons did not arrive. Shameful. At this point, the text on the signs turned into insults. Fool. You don't even know who you are. Stop following these signs. How many of these will you read? I walked and walked and walked. At the end of the final sign of the chain, I reached a clearing of the forest where I spotted the White Rabbit, talking with a limb. She appeared a little frightened, perhaps more concerned. Your Majesty, slow down, please. I blinked. Then I blinked again. Over my eyes, I saw the same images. Nice. The White Rabbit seemed just about to prostrate? What? Herself to a living, moving arm. This arm, despite being an arm, had taken the higher position. The road here is dirty. You needn't crawl here. Shall I take you back to the palace? Or would you prefer to go to the garden or the courtroom? In fact, do you happen to know where Her Majesty is? The arm smacked the White Rabbit. She frowned, brows furrowing. Although I silently observed, the arm noticed me and began to crawl over, one handful of grass at a time. It moved like a snake, like a worm, like a piece of flesh and bone that shouldn't be able to move. Its writhing struggle sent a shiver up my spine. The White Rabbit looked scared. I don't know if I should pick it up or kick it away. I did neither, and reached my feet. The arm proceeded to climb up my leg, in my cloak, clinging like some sort of dirty parasite, making its slow way up until I pushed past my building disgust and hold it in my hand instead. The flesh felt cold in my palm, a sensation I sensed no heartbeat in the rest. Alice, Her Majesty's arm seems to have taken a liking to you. If you find Her Majesty, please return the limb to her, and tell her that her rabbit did her best. I pray she hasn't met any trouble. A limb coming off is an everyday occurrence. She made quite the understatement. Yes, of course. How did you know it was the Red Queen's arm? Rabbit took on a happy, excited expression. I'd recognize Her Majesty's limbs anywhere. Do you admire her very much? Yes, of course. I respect Her Majesty very much. She united Wonderland into a kingdom. Into this kingdom, and kept peace, with a watchful gaze on the criminal populace. She is a decisive ruler, and holds an agreeable worldview. This should be her divine right to rule Wonderland. I heard a cat call her mad. A dangerous expression flashed through the White Rabbit's eyes for barely a second. Her smile quickly became a frown. The Cheshire Cat is a known problem element here. But it gave me the right directions, though. Excuse me, she. That's my bad. This is the original story. Her expression became increasingly stressed. If Her Majesty is mad, then such madness is in essence brilliance. Although I may not always be fated to be a favored courtier, to be an aid to her is my greatest honor. I cannot be White Rabbit without Her Majesty. Her smile returned. Yes, that should be how I view Her Majesty. That should be, or that is. I gave the rabbit's impromptu speech a short round of applause, balancing the detached arm in the crook of my elbow. The rabbit became flustered. She must also like you very much. All rulers had their descendants and supporters. A certain man once said that a ruler was better feared than loved if she could not be both. Despite all that the White Queen said, I knew little more about the Red Queen. The Red Queen is the ruler of this land. What's your job, White Rabbit? Yes, she is the highest ruler of Wonderland. I deal with wow, words. I deal with a little bit of everything. Administrative matters, legal matters, and the personal matters of important people. We met a few times. I could say that I'm important, couldn't I? That's right. Alice? To my tepid jest, I received a response that made me pause. The White Rabbit took out a watch and jumped in surprise upon looking at the time, quickly returning the watch to her pocket. It's that time already. I'm afraid I must be off again, if that will be all. Thank you, Alice. Heartily bowing a few times, she dashed off back to work. I retained one of the limbs, a switch around for the other. Before I knew it, the day passed. I looked toward the sky, where the sun had begun to set. Laying out a yawn, I realized I needed a place to sleep for the night. I thought back to the parties who helped me on my adventure to gather the Red Queen's dismembered parts. Surely I could find one of them. I wonder who I could pick. I headed back to the Hatter's place. Moonlight filtered through the trees and lit the table. Tea and cakes were all put away. As before, I found her at the table full of tea stuffs. She nursed a cup of tea and waved at me upon spotting me. Just in time, Alice! From the sky, tea time should have already passed. Perhaps this was more like supper time, so I only flashed her a smile without saying anything. I've returned with a limb. Congratulations! She grinned. I handed her the Red Queen's limb, which began to move upon entering the Hatter's hand. Holding it away from herself, the Hatter seemed to think of what to do with it next. She kicked a dog cage out from under the chair. Clicking the metal hatch open, she tossed the limb into it and quickly flicked the cage shut again. The Hatter sneered. Sit down! I'd be a poor host if I didn't let you sit. I plopped down into the armchair. This was my chair now. I glanced around and found I didn't see the two puppets that the Hatter wore on her hands earlier that day. Where are your friends? I just with my hands. They got home for a bit. My tail lives all the way over there in the house with ears. As for those ears, they are. As for whose ears they are, I haven't a clue. Are you hungry? No. If you say so. She poured me a cup of tea and slid the cup and saucer. Slid the tea, cup and saucer over to me. It was spilling into my lap. Soon after came another plate. The plate was steak and vegetables. For a brief moment, the Hatter appeared lonely. I should hope this isn't rodent, is it? She winked with a grin. It's something else. The Hatter doesn't continue, but glances over at the Red Queen's flesh. My eyes followed the path of her gaze, not spotting any steak-sized slabs of meat sliced from the torso of the Queen. I sought, but let out a sigh. Her eyes were narrowed. Taking a knife and fork, I cut the steak and moved a piece to my mouth. It tasted like beef. Compliments to the chef. She smiled. Why, thank you. We ate together. For Hatter, her table manners with forks and knives are impeccable, but each time I thought to compliment them, she went and said something odd again. The Hatter was a mystery to unravel. I don't have a place to stay for the night and want to ask if you would put up with me for the night. I'll put up with you all the time. What difference does the night make? Where I come from, people sleep at night. Sleep? You can sleep underneath the table, or spread a blanket on the ground, or just sleep in that armchair sitting in now. You can sleep just when you pretend to be dead like everyone else. Is that why you don't sleep? The Hatter had terrible bags under her eyes. As I doubted she slept too much, she could only have been sleeping too little. She frowned upset. Oh, look at the time! It's really time to sleep. Napping at teen time will destroy your inner clock. Don't you know? Morning, afternoon, evening. That's all tea time. It's better not to sleep. I thought you didn't care about time. The Hatter sneered. Time doesn't care about me. You're perhaps afraid of sleeping. She gave me a somber smile. What do you think, Alice? She poured herself a drink from the bottle onto her teacup. I turned to look at the bottle, which was in no way for tea. I couldn't read the jumbled words scrawled across the label, so I couldn't help but to ask, is that actually alcohol? Tea! Isn't it alcohol? Tea! She drank her tea, and I did mine. The conversation turned to silence. I shouldn't have pushed and upset my dear host. I wanted to pat her head and apologize, so she could drink or sleep as she wanted. As I reached out, the Hatter recoiled. There was a frown on her face. Many dots. She pushed her chair back from the table, taking the chance to move away. Then she dipped underneath the tablecloth, rummaging through her stuff with a rustling noise. When she popped back out, she held a blanket, which she tossed my way. Her expression turned even more distraught, her frown wobbly. Don't you want to pretend to be dead right now? Go, play dead! Catching it in my arms, I smelled a sweet scent from the soft blanket. The air was dark. I started to feel sleepy, hugging the blanket a little tighter. I had experienced a long day after all, so perhaps it was time to go to bed. Good night, Hatter. I wonder if she was mad, if she would respond, but she did. Good night, Alice. Yo, hell yeah! I leaned back comfortably in the armchair and began to sink. Sinking. Contrary to my earlier expectations, I didn't keep sinking forever. Then when I looked at the sky, I found I couldn't fall asleep anymore. I didn't recognize the stars, the constellations that adorned the dark heavens. Tracing their infinite sparkles, I wonder who they stood for. I wanted to understand what was hidden past the mismatched eyes of the Hatter. While I counted stars, I eventually fell asleep. I dreamed of falling. I wonder why. The next day and the day after, I continued my search for the Red Queen's parts. Once again, I was walking down the forest path, remembering that the Cheshire Cat mentioned the White Queen. I decided to give her a second visit. I thought I could easily replicate the road to her garden, having only recently been there. However, the more I walked, the more apparent it became that I was lost. I passed that tree on the right a handful of times already. I was going in circles, getting nowhere, closer to that beautiful garden and its equally pretty owner. I let out a sigh and chose a bush at random to walk through instead of following a path. My cloak saved me from being scratched by the leaves and branches of the bushes. I came out on the other side to a particularly tall tree and a large birdcage. No! I spotted the White Queen inside a birdcage. Behind her was a limb, a leg. She saw with a distressed expression as she looked up at my looming figure. Hello? We meet again, Alice. I hadn't expected that I would be trapped here again. I'm a little embarrassed that you're seeing me like this. I contemplated just asking for the leg and leaving. No, that would be a terribly foul thing to do, especially to a pretty person like her. Although, in a way, it almost seemed like a good idea to leave a pretty bird within the cage all for oneself. After all, how would you catch her if you let her go free? Is that the Red Queen's right leg? So it would appear. To find the Red Queen, you may have to find her parts as well. Even so, she should be able to help you find your way back home. I'm sorry, Alice. Don't apologize. The key to my prison is atop that towering tree. Would you help me open this cage, Alice? Yes, of course. Agreeing to the request, I walked over to the tall tree that the White Queen gestured toward. How tall it was, I couldn't say. If I angled my head and squinted, I could see a glimmering silver key at a high branch above. I looked at the tree. The front and back, sides, left, right. They all looked equally hard to climb. Bird. As I pondered over how to scale the tree, a little bird appeared. It was fat and pink with beady eyes and a tiny black beak. Chirp, chirp. With all the talking animals and not quite animals in Wonderland, I had an inkling that this one might speak as well. Perhaps it spoke French, like a French bird. Bonjour? Bonjour! Unfortunately, I knew little French. My practice had grown rusty, so much that the tutors would be ashamed, but I tried to pull out at least one more phrase. I don't know French, so I'm sorry. It's Oris Mushit? It's probably something really bad. I'm so sorry. Chirp. Yeah. I must have said the wrong words. As the poor bird began to tremble. Parlez-vous anglais? Yes, yes, chirp, chirp. Cats, no cats, please. What are you doing? What are you doing? Chirp, chirp. I'm trying to reach the key up there. What are you doing, little bird? Chirp. Just having lots of fun every day. Not doing anything particular. Not doing anything in particular. Not that the Red Queen, Her Majesty is missing. Wonderland is so much more wonderful. We can play and frolic all we want. Chirp, chirp. Auntie Bird got in trouble for breaking Her Majesty's laws, and now there's no more Auntie Bird. Chirp, chirp. I'm so sad. So sad. Her Majesty was so scary. So scary. Oh, you won't tell on me, right? Chirp. Chirp, chirp. You look like a nice person, Chirp. Much nicer than her. Much nicer than her. No, I see. I'll help you with the key, Chirp. Buffing out his little chest, the bird flapped its wings and took off upward into the sky. It flew and flew and flew, but soon enough became tired. Now reaching the key on the tree, the bird faltered and floated back down. He dipped his head in disappointment. Sorry, I couldn't do it, Chirp. Kill the bird! No! No! Pet the bird. Just kill the fucking bird. You thought I was nice against the cat and bitch. Be nice to the bird. Don't worry about it. I hit the little bird's head, causing it to peek up at me with the large round eyes, glittering with surprise. After the failed first attempt at the key, I returned to the White Queen's side. She looked pretty in the cage. Pretty. Like a flower preserved forever in glass. Again, I thought that she was beautiful. Really, she was beautiful. It's true, Alice. Even so, I couldn't let her stay trapped, not to mention the Red Queen's leg. I wasn't able to find a way up. Do you have any ideas on what I should do, White Queen? Or there are some mushrooms. If you eat the ones on the left, you will grow. If you eat the ones on the right, you will shrink. I think that would be helpful. Magic mushrooms. Haven't heard that before. I was hesitant to eat mushrooms picked from unknown wilderness, but I felt like I could trust the White Queen. Why? I didn't know. Well, it's Wonderland, right? I forgot something important. The feeling of forgetting tingled in the back of my mind whenever I saw the White Queen. Finding the mushrooms she pointed out, I faced a choice. There's a little yellow one with black spots on the stem, and a large purple one with white spots and stem. We need to grow. I picked the left mushroom and immediately began to grow. My line of sight rose higher and higher, as if it were a bean sprout. Once I stopped growing, I could reach the top of the towering tree as I reached out my arm. Fascinatingly, my clothes were with me. I cautiously pinched the silver key and removed it from the tree, holding it lightly as to not break it with my now giant hands. The key I now had, but the cage I couldn't open it, I was much too big. The magic will wear off. In the meantime, would you accompany me to chat, Alice? That may be for the best. I would have to wait till I reverted back to my original size to open the door. Was the invitation for tea sometime still open? Yes, always. Then I shall ask about the sorts of foods and tea you'd like to drink, to see what I might expect. What's your favorite tea? White tea. Do you prefer black tea still? How do you know? We chatted for a while about tea, and at some point the conversation turned to flowers. Perhaps it was that she felt ambivalently on floral teas. You're welcome to visit the garden anytime. I couldn't find my way to the garden today. Perhaps getting lost had been for the better, as I found her in the end. Yes, that happens when I'm not there, but Wonderland should lead you the way if you think of me. At least for you, Alice. I have nowhere to be but the garden. She paused, looking at something in the distance that I could not see. Would you believe me if I told you I could see the future? I looked her in the eyes and ascertained a calm surety. I didn't feel that she would lie, yet I couldn't quite believe her words either. I wondered what I had forgotten, what I was doubting. Rather than answer, I decided to play along. Can you change the future you see? Why do you ask? Otherwise, isn't it lonesome? I don't believe that the future is predestined, but the solitude of such a power would also be the fate of the queen in this world. Her words sounded contradictory, even for the Red Queen, especially for the Red Queen. The White Queen spoke of fate as if still trapped by something more than just this birdcage. I couldn't understand. We talked a little longer. I felt a tingling at my arms and began to revert to my usual size. The world warped, and finally popped back to its proper place. I told her to check that all was well. I didn't find no issues. I picked up the key I had dropped to the ground at some point, and inserted it into the lock of the White Queen's birdcage. With a smooth click, the cage unlocked. I opened the door. The White Queen stumbled out of the birdcage, her legs still wobbly from sitting in the cage for so long. She let me hold her steady till she rebalanced herself. Thank you. You're welcome. I have to return to the garden now, but my invitation is always open, Alice. I'll see you later if you're willing. She handed me the Red Queen's leg. It's just in a black tight, the shoe red and tied to the ankle with a ribbon. Freed from the birdcage, the White Queen departed to return to her garden. After wandering around for some more, I returned to the Hatter's place with the second lemon hand. Day came to an end, but the Hatter's clock remained at tea time. She was arguing with her own hand puppets about some sort of song, some rendition of Twinkle Twinkle. The hair in her hand was flowing back and forth. I waited it out, seeing as she started laughing at herself halfway through. Apparently, she couldn't sing. The expression was a bit lonely. As her shoulders stopped shaking, the Hatter turned to me. She gave me an awkward smile. Alice. Oh, Alice, you voyeur! I see you brought a second one. That one is one, and this one is two. Good work. The Hatter clapped her wrists half a dozen times.
Alice, what'd you join us for tea again today? The Hatter made scones. It has butter.
Thank you for the invitation, Dormouse. Another lonely, but happy expression briefly flashed on the Hatter's face. Upon my response to the Dormouse, she immediately brightened up. If it would make the Hatter happy, I don't see why not to just play along. Leg! Setting aside her puppet friends, she extended an open palm toward me. I proceeded to commit lèse-majesté by tossing the limb over the Hatter's tea table to her. I took a seat in my armchair, seeing her clumsily catch it in her arms. At my seat there was already a cup of tea prepared. With her free hand, the Hatter opened one of the dog cages and retrieved the other limb. Do you need any help with that? She winked. I have everything under control. Without another pause, the Hatter stuck the limbs under the Red Queen's torso. The flesh surrounding with the squelch as the muscles, skin, and bone began to knit into place. Still a red line remained with the limbs connected. He took a bite of a scone. As the Hatter said, it had butter. The Red Queen's incomplete body twitched, something squirming under the skin. It spread some clotted cream and jam onto the scone. The perfect blend of sweetness made me wonder where she got the jam. It was very red. Ow. Hatter became disgruntled, frowning. The single arm grabbed at the Hatter, smacking it as it squirmed. Hatter kicked the incomplete Red Queen, rendering the limbed hunk of meat paralyzed with shock. The Hatter forced his limbs off. A bit of blood and something else dripped onto the ground. Gripping the writhing limbs in her hands, the Hatter popped open the dog cage door with her feet and chucked him in. With a thud, into the cage the arm and leg went. Good scones. Thank you. You mentioned you also had some business with the Red Queen, Hatter. But what is it? Something to do with red, something to do with flesh. I realized that I didn't quite know. She gave a wide smile. A personal matter, Alice. I prefer you didn't pry. I was the one gathering the pieces, so of course I wanted to know. And again, the Hatter could have just as well put the corpse together himself. The better question is why she obtained the first chunk of meat. I doubted she would answer. I was curious. After all, not every Hatter keeps the Red Queen dismembered body at the table, much less treats it like you do. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here. I feel like we made a lot of progress. Doing a whole bunch of stuff. So, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully, I'll see you later.